Was you using Wi-Fi?
I am right now, yeah.
I just bore a hole at the bottom of the wall, right down by the
Right.
bottom of the floor, right by the base. Run a line right through, no problems.
I told her to do that like 4 months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, except
I don't even
for
mess with Wi-Fi.
like
I just
several
drilled a
way.
hole. I just drilled a hole in the floor and then
You know,
ran
in
it
all
up
fairness,
through the
in all
basement and up
fairness-
through like the heating pipe.
there's just this hanging wire in the basement going from one
Yeah,
side to the
that's
other.
what mine looks like. Yeah. All right. Let's do this.
All right.
So today is September 22nd, 2017. Welcome to the Nightly Grind. Let's jump right into it. What do I have on here? Oh, so I thought this was an interesting piece.
So we
That
make sure we're actually live and both
We are.
has everything on.
we are. It's good. Microsoft's Xbox boss Phil Spencer just got sort of a promotion. He will now be reporting directly to Microsoft's CEO, which to me, this signals sort of I don't know if a change, but a acknowledgement of how important gaming is in their landscape. I don't know if anybody else thinks about that. Where the CEO is going to be directly discussing day-to-day operations with the Xbox team. Thoughts?
Wouldn't they have been doing that to begin with?
No,
I mean,
there
Xbox
was.
is one of their major things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would think it should have been happening earlier, but no, it was not. He was reporting to somebody else who then was reporting, up the chain of command. So he's directly going to straight to the Microsoft.
Let me put it
CEO.
this way. All that really means to me is that we put a lot more emphasis on importance on gaming than he ever did.
The CEO.
And now he's realizing there's going to be something to this.
Well, yeah, I think absolutely. With how
Like,
much
esports
money
is
they're
gonna-
making off of it.
I think esports is going to get huge. I think
Maybe.
it's going to be massive. I do. I think it's.
Yeah.
People are going to stop sporting in real life.
I don't know about
And they're gonna, no, but I mean, can you imagine a whole Olympics that's nothing but esports, different esports?
They talked about bringing Olympics to the Paris ones. Bringing esports to the Paris Olympics.
I don't think they should do that. I think
It would be one of those. I forget what
I
they
think it
call
needs
them.
to
Expedition.
exhibitions.
Exhibition event.
do an exhibition for 8 years and make sure people are really gonna want to put the money and the effort into making it right.
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be, well, we thought it was going to be good, but it's not.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. One of our favorite games to sort of shit on of late, development of Battleborn has officially ended as it enters into game maintenance mode. So we will no longer be seeing updates, I don't think, or the like, any significant updates at least, to Battleborn.
Shocking.
Sort of an interesting...
All 5 players will be horrified.
sort of an interesting development for that game. I mean, Gearbox, they had some serious ability to make money, and they threw it all away by trying to go after Battleborn, and it failed miserably. They could have just...
Going after Overwatch?
Well, I mean, I don't. I think they were in development at the same time. I don't think they planned. They didn't plan on releasing at the same time Overwatch did, and Overwatch, Blizzard sort of screwed them in a good way, and all power to them by releasing their beta early, so that people would play it and be like, "Holy shit, this is really good," and then so that sort of screwed Battleborn over a little bit.
I think they probably did put a rush on that.
But Battleborn was also not as good as Overwatch. By far, this is my opinion. I didn't like Battleborn at all.
Was it always slated to come out that date, or did it get pushed up? Or
Battleborn or Overwatch? I think Overwatch got pushed up. But I think Battleborn was just the whatever it was done type of deal. But I mean, if they had just worked on a what's it called? What's their first-person shooter RPG game? Borderlands. If they had just started working on their next Borderlands game, they could have made tons of money if it's good. I think people are sort of wary about it at this point, but still.
It's coming.
They took a huge gamble on Battleborn, and it did not pay off.
Yeah, but this is what we talked about. Like, Gearbox has been making a lot of really piss-poor decisions over the past few years.
Yeah.
With the games they've chose and like how they've handled their business practices and such. I mean, I don't know if this is just a telling sign of the company's leadership and their kind of way they handle stuff. If it is, I mean, it's kind of a death knell for the company. I mean, but we'll see. Like I said, I don't think anybody here is really expecting the next Borderlands to be anything other than just another game.
Oh,
I mean, I would
Speaking of
love for it to
Borderlands-
be really good.
speaking of Borderlands,
Yeah.
I've been working at this place for quite a while now, and my boss has worn this jacket several times, and I never really paid attention to it. He walked by today, and this guy's kind of a square, you know. I mean, he's not, you know. But on the back of this badass kind of leather, it's not leather jacket kind of, but it's a pretty expensive jacket. It had a Borderlands symbol like right there on the shoulder. I'm like, I'm gonna punch him and take that fucking jacket. He don't deserve that jacket.
That would be against the law.
Well, at least against policy, you know.
At least against policy.
Well, no, here's the thing. He used to be like a correctional facility officer.
Mm.
So I'm sure he put up a fight for the jacket, but I don't think he knows what it is. That's the thing. I'm going to find
really?
out if he even
Yeah,
knows.
you should ask him.
Dude, he's like older than me. And
What do you think about Tiny Tina or something like that? See what happens.
that would be good. That would be good. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that.
Just
So what do you
like
think of the,
explosions.
Drop
What do you
a
think-
drop a hint.
what do you think of the character of Tiny Tina?
Explosions! You know?
Go over
I-
a mind
he-
played Battleborn.
He's going to
I
look
mean,
at me like,
Borderlands.
I see, but I don't want him to pee test me, so I'm not going to ask that. I'll just go. Do you know what that symbol is on your shoulder? I'll ask him. Yeah, I don't. Hey, what do you think about Tiny Tina?
Just go Vault Hunter. Are you a Vault Hunter?
No, I'm pretty sure I get pee tested for that.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So
That'd be a
Battleborn.
strange question, dude. Anyway,
Battleborn, which was already dying, is not
Want
quite
that jacket.
officially dead, but it is
It's
on
been
life
taken off
support.
life support.
Yeah, it's on its way out.
well, it's funny because we've been clowning it pretty much every week or every other week.
Yeah, it's a perennial favorite, along with Brink.
Yeah.
Well, Brink we vested in, so we
Yeah.
can really.
Yeah,
enjoy
we
that.
definitely
Yeah,
we played
there's
the
no-
I played the beta of Battleborn. And I was like, hell no, I did not like it at all.
I invested in Brink over a year before I decided that it sucked and I was never going to play it again.
So Divinity Original Sin 2 released this week, and it has already broken CRPG records on Steam with over 75,000 concurrent players. Do we want to run through a mini review?
It's good. Go buy it.
that's what
Well-
my
well-
review. That's what I was
well
thinking. We
spoken,
can either
sir.
say buy it on a sale or skip it, and I would say buy absolutely. I would put it in the range of an 8 or 9 out of 10, somewhere up there. It's really good.
It is very good.
It's one of the best classic isometric role playing games.
If you're
that
old
I've ever
enough to
played.
remember, like Baldur's Gate and
Yeah.
any of the old classic, and I can't remember the studio that made it. Shit, but any like the really classic turn-based strategy games where it's
Yeah.
a really in-depth storyline and all that jazz, it's definitely right up your alley.
It's really if you're into the classic D&D style role playing game, this is it.
So, but it's definitely great. It's
It's got drop in, drop out multiplayer if you want. You can't create your own character, and that to
But
some
you can-
degree. You have
but
to
you
start
can
with a
to a
new
point.
character. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
but
all
you
start
can-
together, you get to play together with your
you
own
can't,
characters.
but you can
but-
literally jump in and take the character over, or take one of the pre-created characters over,
Right.
which you can either play on the storyline. And a lot of people are saying that they're the better characters to play storyline wise because they have a more intricate story
Yeah.
designed for that character. But after you finish the first act, you can pretty much respec as much as you want for free.
Yeah.
So
At least up
Not
till
that
where
bad.
we've played. I don't know about after you get past our area.
I'm not 100% sure, but the way it's said, I think that ship stays with you for the rest, so you always have access to the mirror that allows you to do that. So
I'm curious how many hours
Just a
we've
step
put in.
up.
We've put in a bunch of hours, and we're on
Yeah.
the second act.
it's a step up from the other divinities, because the other divinities always had the have to insert coin to respect. So far, we got 20. I have 24 hours in, and
So
I
roughly
pretty
the
much only
same,
played
yeah.
it with you guys.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, so the game it's lengthy. It's no joke as far as game length and difficulty. It can be difficult.
24 hours, and we've pretty much only been into the first. We're only really done the first act.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know how
just
many
barely
acts are in
kissed
the
the
game.
second act. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're really just treading in the second act right now, so we've only got a few things.
It's really good though. I really like it.
And it already has replayability because we started over with different characters, and the way different character changes
Yeah,
for the different styles completely change the way the game plays. So it's
yeah,
not to mention the 500 different dialogue choice. It's fully. I mean, it's definitely worth the investment if that's your type of game.
yeah. The different types of mages, archers, melee, tanky melee, damage melee,
Tanky Magi, if you want.
tanky
to.
mage.
Literally,
Yeah, there's all sorts of
you
different
can
ways to
pretty much
play.
do whatever you want to do.
You can be,
so.
and apparently I was reading people talking about the game, and like people solve puzzles in wildly different ways. So the replayability to have a different type of character and solve puzzles with how that character would react is really well fleshed out. Apparently,
And then what we're slowly turning into, which is they don't want to work with us, they don't with an axe.
yeah. We've been very attack focused.
Yeah.
But you can be very sneaky and avoid a lot of fights apparently, which is really cool. So yeah, I would say definitely go out and buy it.
Or you can just nib with the axe.
Another release this week was Destiny 2, which was on consoles, not PC yet. It's getting fairly good reviews from what I was seeing. A lot of people are saying it's very similar to Destiny 1, but better, more fleshed out storyline and things like that, which is great because I haven't played Destiny 1, so it doesn't really matter if it's more of the same, at least to me.
I would say that's an interesting way to say it, though, too, because Destiny 1 was a good game, and from everything I've read and heard. So to say it's the same but better, it means that hopefully they made improvements on the things that were bad, and it's what a sequel should be in all reality, a continuation of what was already good and making it better.
Yeah.
So
I think overall, a lot of the reviews said it's very good. There's a few always out there that are going to be, pointing out things and sticking more on those things they don't like. But overall, it looks like it's very good.
we'll know when we get it out and we get our hands into it. So
yeah. Cyberpunk 2077, we got a little bit more information from a leaker inside the company at CD Projekt Red. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be 4 times bigger than Witcher 3. It will use the same seasonal system that was used in Witcher 3 to generate maps on very large scale. It will feature dynamic, destructible areas, and apparently, like, after you leave that area and come back at a later time, there'll be like robots there repairing the area that got destroyed, which seems kind of cool. So like a very dynamic sort of system. But there's no way to determine if these leaks are legitimate or not. They're sort of random little tidbits that this person sort of put out there on the web.
yeah,
Doesn't seem crazy enough to be not true.
sounds like what they've already pretty much discussed. Just like I said, you never know, because they already talked about pretty much a living, breathing city that will adapt to what the players are doing.
Right.
Well, that was all part of the patents they went for, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was a lot
that's right.
because they
Yeah,
were
that was a while
building an
ago.
AI.
That was the actual language, the patent.
Yeah, well, that
Living,
it's also
breathing.
I think the patents they were pushing were actually like for in-game AI.
There was 4 of them.
Yeah, and they were actually saying how that would be the way the game world reacts to what's going on and all kinds of other shit. I mean, yeah.
That probably has to do with I bet it probably has to do with like how you said that destructible environments after a while AI will come around and repair. But that could be tasked at different times to different priorities depending on what part of the city. You know, there could be a lot to it. I hope there's a lot to it. That'd be cool. And
Well-
they did verify that Rocker was in there, didn't they? The Rocker.
Well, that one of the playing classes. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's going to be a carbon copy of the board,
yeah.
the actual RPG game.
I think we
actual
had
dice
talked
rolling.
about. They had released something that you should expect to see all the classic classes in there.
Well, that was.
Yeah.
I think that was one people were asking about, and someone high up in the chain did verify that.
Hmm.
If I remember right.
Yeah, I really want to see a trailer, some sort of information about this game.
One
They've
thing
been
that's
so secretive about it.
Well, that's the thing is that Project Grid doesn't play around like that a lot of the times.
I'm
So they
thinking.
don't really tease games the way other companies do.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe end of the year, probably early 2018, we'll start seeing stuff about it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know when the release
late
date's
late
set,
2018,
if they even have one.
2019 release.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, we'll see, but I'll say this again. I have the utmost faith in the company that does this.
Mhm.
Project Red does not fuck around. They do not do things half-assed, and if I'm sure I would be willing to put into the aspect this game is going to be astounding on many levels, just because that's the way this game company handles their shit. You know what I mean? They don't fuck around. They don't the DLCs they release are more classic expansions than just like 10 minutes of extra shit.
Mhm.
I mean, they really put they bust their ass and put their heart and soul into the game. So,
well, I'm wondering with the patents too, if we're not looking at something we can expect to see in more games down the road.
Well, it's one of the things where it's like we talked about with Star Citizen. I think it's maybe the aspect of starting a trend. You know what I mean? They get the patents out there, and other game companies might take a look and go, "Shit, we can do this too." But the question always is begging: can the other companies do it on a level, and will they put the same enthusiasm into it? But we'll see. Like I said, it's all speculation right now, and we can sit here and think about
They've certainly, if nothing else, they've certainly proved that you can get plenty of funding to develop. You could build something massive if you do it right.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing with them right now is that we're seeing. I think companies in general have put a lot of limitation on what they think gamers want versus what gamers actually want to actually see. And I would harken back even to Divinity. When you look at Divinity from a graphic level, it's not that graphically pleasing. I mean, I was surprised when I first saw character models and stuff like that. They're unique and it's interesting, but they're nowhere along the lines of the details that you'll see in other games. Like Dark Souls or some of the other more like, sword and sorcerer type games. Even like if we go with the what is it, the Mordor game,
Shadow of War.
Yeah, so it's like you're seeing a lot better, more refined, pretty graphics, but the gameplay ends up being very shallow and dull. So I mean, it's one of those things where Star Citizen kind of brought the idea of making something that's so gargantuanly massive, and that nobody would want to do that. Then you've seen like 5 or 6 other games come out since then that have done the same thing on a very, very same like scale, but nowhere near on the level of detail, and they've been amazing successes. Even if they were failures like No Man's Sky, the concept was still like this massive, huge system. So I'd love to see games really start pushing where the technology's going, not focusing on the graphics detail to the point of like counting the individual scuff marks on the fucking plate armor or some shit, but going, let's get away from that level of graphic ability and just make something massive. You know what I mean? Where it's like just epic on scale. And I think I'd like to see more of that than attention to detail. I don't know about all you, but if there's a game that's something on the scale of like what you can do, how you can go about doing it, directions of path, all the actual nitty gritty stuff, I'd find a lot more compelling in a game than how pretty the game looks. As long as it runs, obviously. But maybe we'll see that switch. Maybe we're starting to see some of these.
I don't know. If you think about like No Man's Sky, does it really fucking matter that it's that big?
Well, just because the gameplay was bad, doesn't
Well, that's what I mean.
This much shitty game, or do you want this much?
Yeah.
Well, it's yet again that's the thing where we talked about like with that Ghost Recon game that we played for a while there. It's what is it? Why does the ocean shallow as a puddle?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's massive, but there's really nothing into it. But I mean, I think there's making it big, take the time to actually fill the world out. You know what I mean? And if you're going to do something along the lines of like Star Citizen, allow the community to fill that out. So the community will fill in the spaces.
You can make a game, the whole game take place in a warehouse. If it's intense and it draws you in, a minute can seem like 1,000 hours. It's what you put into it.
Without a doubt.
You don't have to make it 18 square kilometers. You really don't.
Well, yeah, but I'm without a doubt. But it depends on the game and what the actual level. What the game
Anytime I see it's a big, huge world, I think, yeah, well, this much of it's going to be awesome, and then you're going to get to parts and it's going to be like,
or like Skyrim, where there's a lot of nothing,
empty space.
Yeah, but there's a lot of empty space. But Skyrim's a bad example because Skyrim's got so much depth to it with the amount of shit that's in there. There's a lot of empty space, but there's a lot to do within that empty space.
Sure, yeah.
And there, a better example would definitely be something along the lines of, like I said, that Ghost Recon game. That's a massive.
Guild Wars.
Guild Wars to a point. It's some of these games are massive, but there's really nothing in between. You know what I mean?
If there's nothing to do, you're just bugging me while I have to get from point A to point B.
And that's it. And it's like, I need a helicopter, not because flying the helicopter is cool. I need a helicopter because walking sucks, and driving is boring. So it's like, and if Saul's driving, everybody dies. So,
in all fairness, Ghost Recon, the driving is about as shitty as the helicopter.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that those things become less of a, oh cool, I'm in a flying helicopter, and more of, oh, I'm flying a fucking helicopter.
Well, because you would do something and then go back to an area and have to get out of the vehicle anyway, because you couldn't drive up to where you had to get out anyway. So why not just?
But I mean, let's suppose this to like a game like Arma, where being on the ground and being helicopters and stuff in that game are necessary for the same reason, from flying from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
But if the server can be unbelievable, just because it's empty spaces doesn't mean it's boring. You know what I mean?
If you're playing Arma 3 and there's only 4 people in the server, you might not see somebody for a long time.
Yeah, but if you're playing Arma 3 and you got the right mods in there, it can complete a completely fucking different game. Because we were playing like this, what was it, Season Destroyer or whatever it was. There's one maps where it's like you had to attack the island. The AI on that was insane. And if you pissed them off too much, they'd come after you.
I'm just about regular multiplayer.
Yeah, well, you're talking about regular multiplayer. I'm saying that the modding can take a game that's empty and make something massive and amazing out of it. Whether it's like an Epoch mod and where it's like a survival mod.
Or modding in your game.
Yeah. But I said that if you're going to make something that big and it's empty, let the community fill it up for you. That's what Arma does.
Can you imagine how much bigger Nintendo games would be if they let the modding community come in and go with all different kinds of... Holy shit.
Speaking of Nintendo, and we'll get back to big maps in a second, so keep that thought. Speaking of Nintendo, the classic NES golf game has been found within the Nintendo Switch. What was originally found as an emulator named under the super secret name Flog, which, if you think about it, is golf backwards. It is apparently playable with the Joy-Con. Some guy has a video of him being able to play it. So I thought that was pretty cool that they sort of hit it in there. I guess they're planning on releasing it at some point or somehow. I don't know how.
And we'll hear a story.
I didn't see the update. No.
Okay, I updated the story.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Okay. You know the guy that created all the games early on for Nintendo, that Naka...
Yeah.
All right, he died of cancer.
Yeah.
This guy that originally found the emulator, one of the guys that originally found the emulator, was going through the files, and he found the July 19th date, and he realized that it was a kickback or an homage to the guy that worked early on in Nintendo through it, that died of cancer this last, I think it was a year?
Yeah, a year or two ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know if his birthday or the day he died.
I think that's his death day because Pokemon did something with that too.
You stand there with the Joy-Cons and you do this like thing where you bring them up to you like this several times. All right.
You raise the dead.
Well, you just because he did this a lot when he spoke in his
Arise.
No, in his presentation.
Arise.
No, apparently he did this a lot in his presentations. When he was talking, he would do his hands up like the
9.
But anyway, if you do that, I don't know how many times he did it. It was like 15 or something. It was a lot. But all of a sudden the game pops up and you can use the Joy-Cons to play it. But it's only active if you have never played your Switch, if you've never plugged in the Ethernet, it's updated the time and the date. Yeah. You can do that. You can set it to that.
Set the time and date.
You can do it, or you're gonna have to wait until July 19th every year. That one day of the year, if you do that, if the golf game will pop up as an homage to him. Yeah.
Bizarre.
July 19th.
It's interesting. It's kind of a touching and fitting tribute, but also it's
useless.
Kind of silly, yeah.
Hey, every July 19th, golf game. 20-year-old golf game.
So what Nintendo is trying to do is set a Guinness World Record for amount of people standing in front of their Nintendo Switch doing this on July 19th.
Maybe you have to do the exact date that he passed away, though. Maybe you can't do it every year. I didn't read, but I'm pretty sure July 19th.
Well, the date would be the exact would be you
Yeah,
can't go back in time.
I saw him setting the date in the video. I didn't listen to the video, but I didn't see him set a year.
He said he found. They said that he found the date July 19th, and that's
Yeah.
stuck out like a sore thumb because.
Sure. Weird. Okay, moving on. The Pirate Bay has been found and it later admitted to piggybacking on visitors' CPUs to mine cryptocurrency, similar to things like Bitcoin. I'm not sure which coinage they were actually using. The Pirate Bay says that they are looking at ways to remove the need for ads, and this was just sort of a test. Apparently, though, there were some glitches because one person's CPU was like at 100% or something like that, mining cryptocurrency. But apparently it's supposed to be, so there was some like, it reminded me of Office Space. It was somebody made like a small typo. Move the decimal place one spot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was using it's supposed to be using 20 to 30% of your CPU power while you're on the site, no matter how many tabs you have open. So if you have 5 tabs, you're still only at 20%. But I thought that was pretty interesting. They're using Java to some degree to be able to mine cryptocurrency so they don't have to show you ads.
I would feel so used.
Yeah.
Like,
It's weird. I mean, I guess you're on the Pirate Bay.
I hate to say this, but
like
this. Anybody who would visit the Pirate Bay, and then this is just me being me, but anybody who would visit the Pirate Bay and cry about this, really, really, really doesn't fucking. It just shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut the fuck up. I mean, I don't really give a shit. I wish like Napster and fucking LimeWire were still around. I think that I found more music and enjoyed more music during those few short years, and went out and bought more CDs for bands I never would have fucking heard of if it wasn't for that sharing service.
Sure.
Yeah, it was bad for the.
It was bad for the industry.
It was bad for the artists, but it opened up a whole new way of thinking about music.
I don't think it was bad for the artists as much as it was for the industry, and the industry put the screws.
Well, like for the little artists that are
there's a lot of dinky small bands that never would have gotten out of local clubs if it wasn't for Napster. They would have never gotten where they were.
Just so we're clear, I'm not talking about Metallica.
Yeah. I'm not talking. I'm talking about them.
It should have been Lars. We all know it should have been Lars. But
I will say that the reason Napster existed is because people wanted a way to get electronic music. And the industry was like, no, we're going to sell you CDs. We're going to sell you 16 songs for the 3 songs you want.
You're gonna pay $20 for a CD for 2 fucking songs.
Yeah.
You're going to stand outside to get that CD at 12:15 at night.
It's bullshit. And I mean, it's like I said, and yes, I understand there were people that were going out there and downloading everything, and then
another word. Shut up.
But the thing is that I still don't think it's a big deal, and I still don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a joke, and I think look where we've come full circle in the aspect of that. And the only difference is the artists are still not. If the artists are still getting screwed, the industry's still making money hand over foot. So it's just
Yeah, but you haven't had to go to the CD store and buy a CD lately, have you?
There are no CD stores anymore.
Exactly.
Just like there's going to be no gaming retail stores.
You know what though? I'll tell you what. I used to like going to the record store. To be honest, I like going to the record store, running through the old records. I like listening to the tapes.
I liked working at Blockbuster and pawning movies and talking movies all fucking time. It's no difference.
That's not the same thing. It's not. You got to stop that. Nobody cares about Blockbuster that much. Compare those two.
Nobody gives a shit about CD stores.
Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix and they didn't.
Yeah,
that's Blockbuster's fault.
And Yahoo had a chance to buy Amazon back in the day too. So I mean,
I saw a picture. I saw a picture a little while ago of one guy in the corner of this massive room of cubicles, and it was the last district manager for Blockbuster. It's just like this big room that's dark except for this corner where this guy is in one cubicle.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But either way, go back to that point. If you're a user of Pirate Bay and you're crying about Pirate Bay pirating your computer,
exactly,
and using it to run money, so Pirate
we didn't
Bay
say it wasn't funny. We just said
it's ironic on I think the definition of our irony in that aspect. But you have no reason to cry.
The Pirate
I
Bay
mean-
is stealing from me.
The Pirate Bay isn't even stealing from you at that point in time. The Pirate Bay is just utilizing you in order to keep their service open. So I mean, more power to them. Who gives a shit?
I just,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that was,
Well,
I thought that was funny.
If my CPU usage went up to 100%, I would be. kinda
Yeah, that shouldn't be
There's
doing that.
obviously
Yeah.
some errors, some issues with the coding.
There's
We're
a
not gonna-
decimal place in the wrong.
We're not going to deny
Decimal
that
point wrong
fact, but I
place.
mean, honestly, I think it's an interesting idea. The question I would have to ask is, wonder how much of I wonder what any other companies are doing that. And the reason I would say that is that we've always I remember joking with you back in the day, Torna. I may have joked with you too, Bo. And I was like, with computing these days, we really haven't gotten more powerful in computing terms. They've gotten more efficient in computing terms. And I've always said there's no reason to really make your system completely powerful as you need to make it, because it seems like the more powerful you make it, it used to be so you could load things faster, you could have better, load times, and things boot up faster in your system and stuff. And it's like we're getting to the point where we're making the computers faster so we can load up all the fucking bloatware and adware and shit that they're throwing in there. So the question I would have is that if Pirate Bay thought of this, I'd be willing to bet there's other companies out there that have thought the same damn thing.
Well, I
You know what I
imagine
mean?
it's pretty
Some-
easy to see a JavaScript running. I would imagine somebody's caught on. I mean, obviously somebody caught on to this because they called them out
Yeah,
on it. They
but-
said, yeah, we
but-
did it.
But let's look at this from a different standpoint. How many programs do you currently have running on your computer that are just programs running in the background? I
Yeah.
can tell you one we all have running right now, Steam.
Yep. Well, actually,
Steam
I shut
could
mine
easily. Well, I'm just saying, Steam could easily. put
Mine is
something-
not running.
Okay,
down. So you were half wrong.
See, now would be a perfect time to talk about those new computer chips scientists are working on.
But what I'm saying is that that's one of those things where we all have programs that run in the background, and that's easily something and we arbitrarily look at it. Well, it's running in the background because it's just running in the background. They can do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It
absolutely.
doesn't have to take 20% of your.
Yeah, it could be
you-
2%.
If you have 300 million people doing it, it's still going to fucking work just as good if it's running on 2%.
I'm one of those people that doesn't subscribe to the whole, well, it's in the terms of service, you got to read it. Nobody fucking reads that thing.
Well, we're not talking.
So
about
if they
service, so
put in the
that's-
bottom in page 416 in terms of service that they can now use my computer to data mine while I'm fucking there, that's gonna bug the fuck out of me.
Does
Well,
Pirate Bay have terms of service?
They have a term of service, I bet. Somewhere down at the bottom, I bet there's a
Yeah,
link.
they exist in some country, that probably has a requirement.
Aren't they Swedish? Swedish,
Swedish, I think, yeah.
Swedish, yeah.
Something like that.
It's feeding.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
Torn
that-
mentioned the CPU thing.
Well, hold on that thought. I'm just
Yeah, go
saying that
ahead.
it would not surprise me if other companies have thought about doing this and have already been doing it. You know what I mean?
I can't. Wasn't there a browser or something a while back that was using everybody to preload up images? on websites?
I'm not 100% sure about that, but they had the whole what was the for the cancer research or whatever it was. where
Oh yeah, well, SETI does that too.
Whatever. Yeah. So I mean,
Oh,
these,
yeah.
The
the
protein.
splitting
The
or the
protein,
shredding or whatever it was
protein
called.
unlocking or something.
I did that for a long time.
Yes, I mean this is one of those things where I mean you can arbitrarily lend your computer with you to as sports.
Yeah, but
processing
I
power
knew
and
what I
not
was
use it.
signing up for.
I
you know?
understand that, but I'm just saying it would not surprise me if other companies out there have not done or are not already doing this, because some of these programs run in the background all the time
It's
anyway,
just-
and everything
look,
that's running on an
look.
extremely low usage, it's still running.
The problem is that people look. We all have this mindset that we're being provided a service. Service implies they're giving us something to use. That's not really technically what we're doing. What we're doing is
here's-
we're allowing them.
Here's an interesting.
We're
aspect.
allowing them to control how we view and use things.
Well, here's an interesting thing. and it
They're
just-
always testing. They're
Here's an
always
interesting
finding out
thing.
how it works.
if this is something that is viable, okay, say this is it.
And every
Just-
website did it?
No, I'm saying wouldn't
Oh.
wouldn't it be interesting? No, I'm not saying if every
Yeah.
aspect. That I'm just jumping to the next line. Like I'm not gonna block my logic. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could do something along the lines of like, say, as a game company, let's just go with Star Citizen, just because that happens to be it. If that's an option where you can have them utilize your system and that thing, and then have like that be your monthly fee.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Do you really want the
George's
stress?
George's thinking about that.
Do you
one.
really
George's
want that
like,
stress on your
Well,
CPU
look, yeah,
though?
well, first of all, that game, that's kind of a bad one to use because that game is so hard on a system as it is.
Okay, well, I mean, like, okay, let's
If-
say
Like,
that,
say I'm playing
Candy
Minecraft.
Crush.
Yeah, I'm saying
Steam
Minecraft. I'm
offered
playing
to
Minecraft.
Be like, hey, can we use some of your CPU to mine some Bitcoin, and then in return, we're gonna give you awesome discounts on whatever you want. I'd be
or a
like,
portion of the profit.
Yeah, but see how they're coming to you and they're
day,
saying, we
every
will give you
time.
this for something.
Well, like I said,
They're
for the
letting
moral,
you know ahead of time.
for the moral aspect, Pirate Bay, you cannot complain because. of
Well,
what
yeah,
the
no,
service
I'm with you 100% on
entails.
that.
But I'm just saying, it would be an interesting thing down the line if that's a viable form of currency of a way.
That's like
you know?
that's like someone called the cops because they're a drug dealer and their drugs were stolen from them or something. I'm a businessman, damn it.
You know, that guy ripped me off for he didn't give me
Yeah.
the money for the stolen
That guy
goods. that I
stole
was-
all my drugs.
you know,
Gave him
it's-
$20. He didn't give me my weed.
Yeah, but it's like it was a baggie of oregano. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
No, but I mean,
that's
it's like-
basically what we're talking about here.
But I'm just
so.
saying, wouldn't it be an interesting aspect if it was something like that? Like for Blizzard, for example. If, you wanted to
If
play
I wanted
Warcraft,
to, if I wanted to enter into an agreement with them that I knew
well,
the
that's
terms
what I'm
of-
talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what I mean. If you could enter an agreement with a service like that, and then like for a Blizzard,
I don't
for
understand
example,
why it's not that way anyway. Like, what if, like,
Well,
when you
it's-
wait, remember in Battlefield 20, the future one? Remember the old one?
42.
Yeah, the old one. Remember
Yeah,
how
the one where they had
people
the
were freaking
tied
out?
in adding.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they looked
they
at
had
your
ads
cookies
in
and
there.
put advertisements in game.
What if at the end of your gameplay they came and asked you a few questions about those ads you saw, and that few questions earned you things, you know, like DLC or weapons upgrades or buffs or whatever.
No, like I said, it's
Would you do
definitely
it? Would you
interesting.
answer a few questions? Would it be too much for you to do? See, I don't see why they
bottle
don't
of
do it that
whiskey
way.
and I could, yeah. That's what. You ever see those old Looney Tunes cartoons where it's like, I have this really awesome trick, but I only can do it once? That would pretty much be a bottle of whiskey. I probably could do it, but it would not be finishing the podcast. So,
or the rest of your life.
no, I could
Uh,
probably. I've drank a bottle of whiskey in an evening,
Oh my gosh.
so I could do it. I just would.
Everybody's got to keep their cool.
So Torn wanted to talk about the CPU, new CPU, or
No, but I'm cutting you off again, but it would be interesting to see if they could think about it though. It would be a very interesting thing to see companies do that. You know what I
I don't
mean?
know if
From a
it'd be
financial
interesting.
I don't understand why they don't. Games are huge. If you could put something into games where you were utilizing a few minutes of a gamer's time and you were going to give them something as a reward or something, or they could earn, I don't know, whatever the fuck.
If it's like a
I'm surprised they don't do that.
If it's a pay to play
they don't do it.
game, would it be interesting to have that where it's like you can opt to use your computer to pay for your monthly service?
Yeah,
You know, for your like.
I wouldn't
if you
want the
have to-
stress on my CPU all the time.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be CPU because I think most Bitcoin mining is run off the graphics card.
Yeah, I don't
What
know
if
if they
they-
can
what
do
if there was a
that.
way-
It's definitely
Through
going to
the
get
internet, though.
While you were like at work or something.
I turn my computer
I mean,
off
when you
when I'm
were-
not using it.
That's like Tesla, right? They want to let people take their car to work, get out, go into work, and then their car just drives off autonomously and like an Uber car.
Would
Or,
it,
Yeah.
would it not be good to fucking be able to do that if you had a car like
That's
that?
what
and
they're
you could,
doing.
Like, pawn
Yeah.
that
That's
shit
exactly
off
what
during
they're
the
doing.
evenings to make money on that. Why
Yeah,
not?
well, yeah, the automation of vehicles is going to put a lot of people out
while
of
you're
business.
at work, your car will deliver goods, people.
Taxi cabs are going to be pissed because
Yeah.
there's no longer 2 a.m. fucking taxi calls.
Yeah,
And it works.
anymore.
And it works
The
towards.
taxi cabs in general are gone.
It works
essentially.
towards the lease of your Tesla. That's how it's supposed to work.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I mean, it would be an interesting thing to do. From technology standpoint, I don't think it'll ever happen because I'm not exactly sure how viable the coinage is and what
What I'm saying is-
I'd have to look into it financially and where the breakdown is on it because I know Bitcoin can be an extremely lucrative market.
My point is,
But-
You've been
people are
hurting lately
act-
because of the Chinese, but
people, whether they're on their cell phones or on computers or they're on Xboxes or on their PCs, they're jacked in all the time. We're always jacked in. So if you can find a way to use that time to get ads, or I think that's probably what we're going to see. You know,
kind of, it
just
reminds
make
me of
TV shows put ads down at the bottom of their TV shows while they're playing that. What the fuck is that?
Hey,
Or-
What the fuck are
maximize
you
the
doing?
time to make the monies.
or product placement.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why am I seeing? I can't believe it's not butter on the bottom of my fucking screen when you're gonna just gonna have a
come on,
commercial
man.
for it in
Every
3
time-
fucking minutes.
Whenever they drink making sure the label's pointed out so you can easily read that product placement while they're doing that.
It reminds
So, I
me
mean,
of Silicon Valley, where they had the new internet where everybody shares the load. You know,
Share the load.
share the load. Wherever, you know, it reminds me of that.
It would be interesting to see a different age where it came into the fact where you could have gamers start making money for what they're basically being done in some cases anyway, whether it's advertisement placed in the game or stuff like that.
Wait,
Well,
wait. Do the
if
story
they-
about.
I'm saying if a company, like for example, they always use this aspect that server. The reason why a lot of games have monthly fees, especially like massive multiplayer games,
Let's keep servers going.
is to keep the servers going. But if you could utilize people who's running those computers to run those to do that kind of farming while they're playing it, that could offset server fee right there without actually having a monthly cost.
Mhm.
Well,
You know.
this is a story about how you said we're just making them more efficient. This is actually going to make them a little more powerful. The chips.
Oh, the chips, yeah. So I don't have it. I have to remember off the
I
top of
want
my
to know
head.
this time.
Is it the chips or just the way that essentially what it is? They figured out a way to get
They can store sound on
store light as sound
Light as sound waves.
on chips, so that they can use, instead of using electrons, they can use light to send information and then transfer it into sound, so that the computer it is essentially slowed down enough to be legible or
Don't you
readable.
already technically do that with like optics when you're dealing with like sound with an optic line? I think that's sound being translated into a
It says rather than
That's an electronic signal still.
than processing data in the form of electrons, the researchers are using photons. This optical computer has the benefit of producing essentially no heat, being immune to electromagnetic magnetic interference,
magnetic.
and use less energy than modern computers. Plus, it's 20 times faster.
It's the speed of light,
Yeah,
or the speed of sound at the very worst.
they can stack up a bunch of those sound waves
Yeah.
on top of each other and then move the whole thing. Instead
Anyways,
of just
it's decades away from being a
It's
viable.
interesting.
It's coming though.
No, yeah, it could change the way we do everything. But yeah, it's a long ways away.
It's definitely
Well,
an
you
interesting
can make them
idea.
a lot smaller if heat's not an issue. And
Right? Yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff, so-
yeah. The heat is the big one.
Yeah, it really is.
Plus, electrons just getting too close to one another, and they.
Well, it doesn't suffer from electromagnetic interference
Right.
too,
Yeah.
so that's a big plus.
Yeah, the jumping of the bridge is a major concern when you get really small too.
I think it'd probably be the next wave, the next line of technology. But yeah, I think that we're way off.
Yeah, yeah. They just figured out how to do it essentially.
Technology
So-
speeding up. It's just going to
It'll
keep
definitely get
getting
over the
speed.
limitations that they're currently reaching with the current level of technology.
Oh, serious wind out there.
Because we're getting to the point right now where it's so thin and so they're burning themselves up before they actually do it, or you gotta literally bathe it in liquid nitrogen, or else it's gonna literally just cook itself.
Get it down right above true zero.
Yeah. So I said we were going to come back to big maps, and we have arrived at that place. With the popularity of PUBG in the news this week, there's news of a new arena shooter that have come out, which seems interesting. It's made by Automation Games. They announced that they're working on a quote cutting edge, and it's an untitled MMO tactical shooter, which will support 1,000 concurrent players within a shared world, and which will also include a last person standing PUBG style arena shooter, or H1Z1, or whatever you want to, an arena combat mode that supports 400 players in direct combat. The map is supposed to be more than twice the size of PUBG's. It's 12 kilometers by 12 kilometers versus PUBG, which is 8 by 8.
So 4 square kilometers larger.
No, it's going to be 8
Said
by 8 would
12.
be 64
Vehicles are going to be a
square
lot more.
kilometers.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
12 by 12, which would be 144. So it's big. And this is a quote from them, using Spatial OS, which allows for an unprecedented world simulation and effects, including environmental destruction, roaming wildlife, dynamic weather, foliage displacement, tracks, blood trails, fire and water effects, fully immersing players into the experience of being the hunter or the hunted. Spatial OS is Improbable's distributed operating system for game development and operation in the cloud, which allows developers to exceed the power of a single game engine or server. By building games with a standard tool and deploying on Spatial OS, developers like Automation Games can build virtual worlds that offer permanent, persistent, and engaging experiences.
Permanent and persistent. Persistent.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting.
is it good?
400 people is a lot of people in a map.
That is.
It's a lot. I don't know. Interesting.
Nukes.
Does the game company have any kind of like, you know,
Small
pedigree?
nuclear devices.
There's no other information other than this, essentially, at this point.
So right now it's just nothing. It's just okay.
Yeah.
Didn't the game Fortnite just introduce a battle royale type?
They
Everybody's
did, and
doing
I
it.
think Fortnite's going to be free for a weekend or something. I saw somewhere.
I think I read somewhere PUBG has got them on the radar. They might be looking into litigation of some sort over it.
Really? They don't seem anything remotely similar to one another.
If PUBG's
I
gonna
know
try to sue
PUBG's not
somebody
happy
over
about
doing a
it.
battle royale type game, then PUBG's got a really fucking
Yeah, there's
It's
a
gonna be an
long list of
interesting case.
games. Yeah.
because they were not the first. They're just the
No.
first to really hit the right note. So
And I think I saw that PUBG broke the record for #1 for concurrent players on Steam, and it really has me wondering how many of those are bots, just farming the
stuff.
farming resources to get crates and sell them.
yeah, but I mean, you can't really. Who cares?
No, I
mean,
know, they're breaking all these records, but
You could argue the same.
How many
fact
of those
with,
are
like,
bots?
You could argue the same fact back in the day when Warcraft was one of the top games with like 15 million like concurrent subscribers.
Sure,
or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I would guarantee you a good percentage of that were Chinese farmers and botters,
Yeah.
or people multi-boxing and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, it may not be like a massive number, but it definitely wasn't 15 million unique IDs.
I'm right there.
So,
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry.
but I don't know. I like the bigger map. Interesting.
Yeah.
If you're the thing, I think that PUBG
Oh,
hits it right is,
vehicles be more important on a map that big though.
well, that's the thing. But I mean, it's
Very.
the thing with the PUBG is that the map's big, but it's just right.
Mhm.
It's big enough to where even if you get on the complete far side of the island, to where the fucking zones ends up in military base, not just fucking
As long as you pay
It's-
attention to the time.
you can
Yeah.
still run and make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If the map gets too big, it's going to start getting to the point where there's way too much pre-run phase, and that means people are going to really be able to gear up.
Oh,
to
to help
attack
weed
better
out
than
those
they should.
400 players.
Yeah, but it might weed out the 400 players, but you also might get into the situation where you're not really going to have. You may have rounds where you never see.
200 died just trying to get to the red area.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I don't
Littered
know.
bodies everywhere.
The thing with those type of battle royale games is you have to have a map big enough to where it's adventurous and it's something where you actually have to pay attention to where you're at, but it's small enough to where combat is going to start getting more heated as the map gets smaller.
I think
Yeah.
that's
And if
why
it's too
why
big,
PUBG,
it's going to end up being just be too big.
that's why PUBG is doing so good, because the maps are just the size where you can, even in a clinch situation, you can move around and like flank people and work together as a team, or even solo. There's enough space to get out of harm's way if you need to. But it's not so big that you can't, get to where you need to go. And
Yeah.
And like
And
I
I
said,
think
it's
successful.
that perfect size. It's that
It
perfect
really is.
setup.
And
So-
the way you would do that is you just make the gas or the blue, whatever you want to wall, or you want to call it. Most people call it gas from the older games.
Hey,
You just
Cam.
make it move it slower. But then you run the risk of the games lasting way too long and people losing
That's it.
interest because the game lasts too long. Like right now, the game is just long enough to where you don't lose interest. You're always doing something.
You've always got the pressure of I have to grab and move.
Yeah.
And if you're in in those rounds where you get lucky and you like literally you're in the middle, you have you have the added benefit of going. I can have extra time to sit around and loot, but you also have that added aspect of sitting gets really really boring after
Yeah.
a while, and you want to start moving around.
I want to shoot something.
And sometimes the worst thing to possibly do in that game is camp, because
you still have to you still have to find a position where you can make something happen. You need time to do that. You can't just run into the area and hope.
yeah.
So you're planning. You're kind of planning when do I need to move? Which way am I going to move to? Where's that sound coming
And-
from?
And unless you're extremely lucky, you're generally never going to get fully geared in the first area you hit, unless it's a major town. And most of the time, if it's a major town, you're fighting for every scrap of land you can get because there's going to be 10 or 20 other players in that area. And then on top of that, you're still going to be probably missing stuff. I mean, there's been more than one round where we've gone in and we've gotten gear to the 10th degree and we have no healing items. So it's like now you have to move and try to find healing items. So sometimes it's better to be on the move. You find more, or you can stumble across another team and kill them and take their hard-earned, what they've got. So it's just if the map gets too big, it's going to get in. I think it could be detrimental to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to have that pressure that's going to be pushing you to really pay attention.
Yeah.
So now if you got 400 people playing, that's 4 times the amount on average. It might equal out, but I don't know. I'm going to go into that what I said a few weeks ago about it, which is this is starting to get a tad bit like the MOBA scene where it's like, oh my God, this company made a game and everybody's buying it. Let's try to make it now. And it's going to just completely saturate the market with shit games people are trying to fucking capitalize on right now. And I don't know if that's a good thing. So, I mean, how many games have we talked about in the past month that have added the PUBG style fucking battle royale to their game? I mean, it's at least 3 or 4 different game companies that are either have added it already or are in the process of adding that. So it's just
Yeah.
I don't think this company was talking about that the way you described it, Ben. It sounds like this was just they were doing something else and they're like, hey, PUBG's popular. Let's make a battle royale.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. Or add that feature to the game. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll see. So for some reason, Microsoft has approved a project to re-release a new version of the huge Xbox controller that was dubbed Duke. Do you remember that controller from the original Xbox?
Oh, you're talking the original
The
Xbox
giant
controller?
Xbox controller.
Just the standard Xbox.
Yes.
The original Xbox controller.
Not Xbox One.
Yeah, the original Xbox.
Yes,
Thank you, Microsoft, for having the worst named system.
The first Xbox. Remember the giant controller that first came out with it when it first was released?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, yeah, I hated it. Anyways, they're re-releasing it, and it's going to have a 9-foot breakaway cable, and it will have a small display in the center where the original Xbox logo used to be. It's going to be for Xbox.
Making a Dreamcast controller.
It's going to be an Xbox One and Windows PC controller. It looks like a USB probably.
What is the display port going to do with the little front thing?
I don't know. There was no information released. The picture of it that they showed, it was a very rough prototype. Just had a display showing the Xbox symbol. So there's really no information as far as what it's going to do. Yeah. But I don't know how that got okayed, but somebody thought it was a good idea for nostalgia reasons.
I think it's interesting, and like I said, I always liked the original Xbox controller.
My brother liked the original controller.
But putting the heads-up display on there, I mean, that make it literally the Xbox controller looked a lot like the old Dreamcast controllers. I mean, you got to go back way longer to remember Dreamcast. If you're one of like the 20 people that bought one in the United States, I was one of them.
The little thing you plugged into it.
Yeah, dude, that was so fucking awesome. I'm sorry, but that was fucking awesome. The Dreamcast was a great fucking system. Fuck you.
Okay. The only good game on that was probably Soul Calibur.
No, there was a ton of good games on that, man. The NFL 2K series got to start on that. Soul Calibur. Dead or Alive for that game was fantastic. It's the best version of Dead or Alive that was ever made.
Wasn't there Dead or Alive released on PlayStation 2?
It was originally released on PlayStation, and it's been released many, many times, but the version that they had on the Dreamcast was one of the best versions of the game. It just was fantastic. It really was. I'm not lying. I mean, you know. Yeah. It sounds very. And if ever they're trying to be like Nintendo with the screen. No, Dreamcast did it first. Fuck all y'all. Yeah.
Well, the Game Boy did it first.
Game Boy was a handheld system. That wasn't a console.
Yeah. So Call of Duty World War II beta will be starting at the end of September 29th through October 2nd. And it's for everybody on PC. You don't need to have pre-ordered the game to play it. I don't know if any of us will actually do it.
Does that sound like desperation? I think that sounds like desperation.
I don't know. But I don't know if I'm even interested, based on what I've heard of other people playing it. But we'll see.
Does it sound like desperation to anybody? Because it sounds like desperation to me. This is a company that didn't want to do fucking betas because...
Speaking of COD, that COD documentary came out yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Remember the one we talked about before? Yeah. It's free to Prime users. It's $4.69, I think, on Steam.
Oh. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it too.
get Prime. It's a really good deal. Yeah. So HBO has ordered a pilot for a Watchmen series, the new drama series in development with The Leftovers creator Damon Lindelof. I don't know the guy.
This Watchmen, Alan Moore Watchmen, or
Yes. Watchmen, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
is it going to be the actual story or a continuation or a prequel?
I just heard that they ordered a pilot for it.
Just based on the.
They ordered a pilot, so there's no.
There's no story or
not even
anything
written
yet.
See, this is. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Or we talked about it when we were talking about the It. But I know I read something around where a lot of writers have really been trying to push for these miniseries for the fact that there's a lot of books and a lot of stuff that's been taken and put into movies that they can't necessarily do the character development and the actual story development as well with a 2-hour movie that they can do with a 15 or 20-hour miniseries.
Well, if it's
You
like
know.
Netflix, we're talking 10 episodes. Or,
Yeah, hour each. You're talking 10 hours.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I mean,
So
it would be
that's
awesome
like a
to see
Stephen
them
King
do
movie.
to the full Watchmen story. Don't get me wrong. I thought the movie was interesting.
Mhm.
It was good. They definitely changed some things, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't think they did. I don't know. It didn't live up to the book. But I mean,
What if they stuck to the?
Shush, Saul.
No,
what
I
if
was
they-
just laughing.
What if they stuck to the graphic novel pretty close?
It would be
It's like-
awesome.
Yeah.
It's HBO, so it's like, okay, they're gonna have the budget, but it also means that they can have more giant blue penises just kind of all over
Flopping
the
around.
That's
I will
exactly.
totally-
Giant blue
It's gonna
penis.
be like-
He
I
was
will
pretty
It's gonna
hot.
totally-
be like the HBO series for women instead of. Like,
Well, I'm sorry. Well, first off, if you were a being of immense power that could rebuild yourself, are you gonna like go with the like 3-inch short thing? Are you gonna like if you're, I mean, seriously here, you're gonna like There's a reason he walks around naked 90% of the time, right?
My thing is
but-
just he doesn't care.
yeah, he doesn't.
He's
but I mean,
beyond that.
It
Yeah,
would be
but-
awesome to see them do that. I think the main issue I had with the movie, and if yet again spoilers, but shit, the Watchmen's
It's
been out
old.
since the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
The ending was horrible. The ending was so fucking stupid, but the way they did it in the movie, they should have kept it 100% the way they did it in the comic. Or the
I didn't
actual
mind it
graphic
too
novel.
much.
It wasn't. The graphic novel was much better, but I think they had the idea that people wouldn't understand it.
Maybe.
Or something. They had to like dumb it down to a point, and the original
could be.
was fantastic. I mean, it's still the same ending, but like the general concept of the way the ending was done was completely different, and I think that was just so. I think that really lost something, with the way, especially they were like pinned everything on Manhattan. And that's not the way it was.
Yeah.
It was much better with the giant alien landing in the middle of fucking New York. It made a lot more fucking sense, So, but and I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be neat to see him really push it and be able to do it and really get more into character development because they didn't really build the character development in the movie. Yet again, because you can't spend all the extra time. Now, I think it'd be hard to find somebody to play the comedian because the actor that did the comedian was fantastic, and Rorschach was really, really good as well. So, just we'll see how they do it. What, Saul?
they do that all the time, though.
What?
Like, okay, let's take for example the Flash and the Green Arrow, the TV series. Once you watch those TV series, you can't picture anybody else in there, and yet they're coming out with a Justice League movie where they're doing just that. They're throwing different people into these roles, and it's like, all right, well, let's see what they can do, but it's not the same. It's not.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
we've done
think-
the same thing with Batman. We've done the same thing with Spider-Man.
Right.
We've done the same thing
So
with
for you to
Superman,
sit there
we've
and
done the
be
same
like,
thing
oh, well, this character was so good, nobody can ever do it, and I don't think
well, I
they're
think
going to
the guy who played the comedian.
You can't
who,
do that. Otherwise,
guy-
Heath Ledger would go nowhere. I
well,
mean,
he's not going anywhere, unfortunately. So
He could be in The Watchmen. I bet he'd do a good job.
he would probably.
You heard that they were
fantastic.
going to try and get Leonardo DiCaprio to do the Joker, right?
I heard that, and I think it'd be interesting. What?
Leonardo DiCaprio to do the Joker?
Let's let him do What's Eating Gilbert Grape, all right? let's not.
You gotta get but see the thing is that Caprio is done. I used to hate the Caprio. I thought, but he's a damn good actor.
Yeah, he's
It'd be
amazing.
interesting to see
I'm not
if he
saying
could
that,
actually
but
pull it off.
I
And
don't think you could get that lucky twice.
I think, but I mean, they could say the same thing. We heard the same thing about the Joker. If you want to go back to that, nobody's going to play the Joker as well as Nicholson played
Yeah.
the Joker. And then Heath
That's
Ledger
what
kind
I'm
of like,
saying.
and that was the thing.
Right.
How the fuck is this guy who got more? He played a gay cowboy. That's how everybody knows him. He played a gay cowboy.
Yeah, more-
How is it?
Yeah, people knew him
The
from
majority of
being like
people-
a teenage
Heartthrob.
10 Things I Hate
hot
About You.
drug movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how is this guy that's basically going to
Wasn't he a
such
knight
a dark
something?
character? Oh, he was in First Night. He was in The Patriot. He was in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked him in The Patriot.
He was great in
He
The
was good in
Patriot.
it,
He was
yeah.
great in First Night, or was it First
Last
Night?
night.
No, it's
First
not
night?
First Night.
The
No,
First
it was Night.
Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale.
Knight's
Yeah.
Tale.
He was
yeah.
fantastic
It
in
was
that.
wonderful.
That was
So,
an
I mean,
interesting
it's-
film
It was a good. It was a
with
great
like the
fucking
modern take on
I
Yeah.
still am never gonna forget him in.
Johnny Depp as the
Brokeback.
Joker. Get out of here.
Now, see,
Brokeback Mountain.
I'd be torn on that because
This thing gets a hold of us the
He
wrong
would-
time.
he would probably. If
He'd
you've
be
already
trouble.
seen Johnny Depp in that, I mean, okay. If let's put it this way, if Tim Burton was doing it, maybe. But we've already seen Tim Burton's Joker, and that was Jack Nicholson. So,
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
you know,
Like
so
I said,
it's-
they got lucky with Ledger's was just unbelievable.
Ledger just
They got
blew
lucky.
everybody away.
Yeah.
They got lucky. I don't think they can tap that twice. I don't think they can.
I
do
don't.
it.
You never say never because you never know. But I mean, when we're talking about comic book movies, they reboot them every fucking 3 years.
Never
So-
have I ever.
So it's like I said, but yeah, good. I think it'd be interesting. I hope that they'd be doing that with the Watchmen and not trying to go off in some fucking crazy level with it. I'm not sure if there's any really depth to the Watchmen aside from that. You know what I mean? Saul, was there anything else done? in The
Basically, what we're
Watchmen?
trying to say is, don't fuck this up, HBO.
I never read the graphic novels. I had access to them, but I never read them.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about like doing prequels and going more into the characters and what led up to it, but I don't know if there's a need to because the graphic novel pretty much it's set up into different chapters basically, and in between each chapter there's a whole bunch of backstory and what's going on. And
Well,
it's
more
usually
than
done,
likely
like,
they're
through-
not
I think
gonna
that's.
do
I think that's probably the approach.
They're
that
not going to do the actual
HBO
storyline from the graphic novels.
Yeah,
They're
they
gonna
could just use the
characters
world.
and put them in a new situation.
Just use the world that's been created and start from there.
Yeah.
If they've got a whole season, they can introduce each character. They have plenty of time
But
to
they
do
have to-
character
it's-
episode for each character.
How many of you have actually read the Watchmen? Or
I watched. I
I've
watched
seen the movie.
part of
I
it.
haven't
Because
actually,
the whole-
and I know
the
the
whole-
storyline, but I
the
don't.
whole premise of it is that the characters in it are more or less were once, we'll say, superheroes, or there's only really
Mhm.
one superhero in the entire thing, and that's Dr. Manhattan. But it's basically everybody in there is retired except for Rorschach, who's the only one who basically said, "Fuck you, I ain't doing that. I'm still gonna go beat the shit out of people and fucking do justice the way I feel it."
Okay,
Well,
so why
you
can't
have-
they do a prequel to all
They'd
that?
ha-
Yeah,
I mean,
or-
it'd have to be. A
He
prequel.
wasn't
It'd have
saving
to be.
kittens out of trees, though. He was going after particular.
You could have
stuff.
like a new
Oh, no,
generation
he
of
was-
superheroes
That's
though
why
as
I said
well.
Rorschach was literally.
Yeah, one of them
fucking
had a kid,
killing.
didn't they?
The main.
Didn't they have kids?
No, the main characters in it did not. Even though the two characters did hook up at the end, the Owl and the Nightshade, or whatever the
The
girl's name
Pussycat.
was. But she was the original. She was the daughter of the.
Yeah, remember?
original.
Yeah.
So, and like I
Okay.
said, they
They
can
were,
go
they
back
were
and
up in
do
the
like
big,
So they could do their parents if they really
the
wanted
owl
to.
the
ship.
floaty thing, and he's like,
Okay, yeah, you
big
saw
old
the
flame.
movie.
You don't remember
you
that?
saw the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's- So, but
Yeah,
it's,
the explosion was him pushing on the, or her
Yeah.
pushing on the
yes,
flamethrower.
yes, exactly.
You don't remember that?
No, I
Oh my
remember.
gosh.
I'm just saying it's
Oh,
it'd have to
that
be.
guy
If you're
over
gonna deal
there.
with the whole if you're gonna deal with the whole crime fighting and like that kind of thing, it'd have to be a prequel. And the question is, how far back would they go? Would they go back to the forming of the original Watchmen, or would they go with
You could set it in the future too, from when the end of.
Yeah, it's
And
people
there's a
picking
new,
up where they
a
left
new
off.
crop of superheroes
That's
pops up.
that's a possibility.
Because you have
but
a
the-
world set that people like.
Yeah, but see, the end of the Watchmen, the world is at peace. So it's you
Well,
don't.
that's easy to
necessarily-
fix that.
I could destroy that in one episode.
Yeah, well, see,
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't eliminate crime, so you could still have the need
Yeah,
for crime
yeah.
fighters. But the world wouldn't be at the level at which just basically the whole premise of the Watchmen was Ozymandias was trying to basically create an enemy far greater than any other human on Earth, and therefore
Yeah.
it would unite Earth against that force.
Right.
And like I said, that's why the Dr. Manhattan thing didn't work, because Manhattan leaves, and it would take long for that to happen. And
Yeah, he took his big blue penis to Mars, didn't he?
He leaves the galaxy at the end of the comic, and I think even at the end he basically says, "I'm going to go create life in another part of the galaxy and do what I want to do because you humans."
He wanted to try it himself.
Boring. You know, and the thing that the actual graphic novel, what Ozymandias does is he makes it seem like aliens are getting ready to invade Earth, and there's a giant alien that comes in and basically destroys New York, and that's the thing where all the Earthlings go, "Fuck! There's something out there in the universe that can kill us. We need to put all of our petty shit aside and worry about the things out there." So that there's more or less peace on Earth between all the nations at the end of the book. Now the thing is that Rorschach has a diary which he kept, and he wrote down all the shit that was going on.
And he dropped it off at that.
And he drops it off in the fucking newspaper at the end, and the guy and that's how the book ends, with the guy reading the story that Rorschach had wrote. So there's at least one person that knows the truth.
The truth, yeah.
But the thing is
that
the
start.
So I mean, that's the thing that could go on that. But the biggest thing about that, with the ending and the way Alan Moore had wrote it, was peace has been achieved. Would they really want to sacrifice the peace on Earth by showing that this was just one giant,
Well, Rorschach won't.
thing? That's why Rorschach gets killed at the end.
Because
Rorschach, he cannot. The evil that Ozymandias did is against everything Rorschach believes, and he has to let the world know, even though the world would destroy itself.
There has to be justice in the world.
That's it, and the justice would have to be on Oz.
It isn't about the illusion; it's about the real justice for people who deserve it.
And that was the defining thing on Rorschach. It's evil people need to be punished, even though what Ozymandias did.
In all fairness,
good.
We're getting way off track.
It was. Yeah, well,
in all fairness,
the philosophical art thing of the Watchmen, which is what
Dr. Manhattan could bring Rorschach back. Just saying. I mean,
Manhattan left.
I know, but
the question is: are you excited for a Watchmen TV series? Yes or
no?
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, let's.
Show of hands.
Yeah. So the last thing we have, and I have to put up the little special picture because Tornsville wants me to use a special picture, is my review of American Assassin. Since I got since I got Movie Pass, I went to go see American Assassin last weekend to get going on that. My overall, I'd say it's roughly a C+ to a B. It was average. It was enjoyable while I was there, but it's easily forgettable. The opening scene, and we'll get to spoilers in a little bit, was shocking, and they never quite reached that level again and throughout the movie. It is interesting though. The ending scene is pretty cool, and I'll talk about that in a second. And overall, I'd say it's probably a rental. You don't have to see it in the movie theater, although the ending scene's cool on a big screen. But it's definitely not a skip, I would say.
Was the ending more along the lines of a Saving Private Ryan type scene, where it's epic on the big screen?
It's epic on the big screen. So I'd say it's a rental.
Wait until you can see it free on Amazon.
And I'll give you the spoilers here now, so anybody who doesn't want to know anything about American Assassin, although spoilers don't really change. And then one thing I will say,
coming out on video next week.
Yeah, probably. Apparently, it's a book series, and there's a whole series of them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So, and they left it open for another one at the end.
Wait! A Hollywood movie's left it open for a sequel?
Yes. And so here are the spoilers. The opening scene: this guy proposes to his girlfriend in Mexico somewhere out there on the water, and she's just some blonde chick that you have no idea who she is, and there's a terrorist attack, and these guys come in with AK-47s and just start lighting people up all over this beach. It's pretty brutal. And so you have this high scene, and he never quite reached that again. But at the very end, this whole thing is about a nuclear bomb in play, and the Iranians, and all this stuff happens, and the main character gets a hold of the nuclear bomb, and they're jetting out towards the Navy, because the guy that wants to kill the Navy, anyways, so he dumps it overboard into the water, and they detonate a nuclear bomb underwater in this movie. It's pretty freaking cool to see, like this huge wall of water, and the aircraft carriers going up and over this huge wave that they created. Anyway, it's a really cool scene, which is worth seeing on a big screen, because it is very cool, but not necessary. So that's my.
So you're saying like on a maybe a canned food
even
day?
I don't know what.
A canned food drive day where you bring in canned food, you can see it for free.
You can see it for free. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they do that anymore, John.
No, yeah, I don't think I've ever.
They do.
Or the Back to School movie, where they wheel out the big inflatable movie screen.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd show this movie though.
Back to School.
There was a torture scene in the movie. The one thing that I did was wary about is they introduced this female character and they made it look like they were gonna fall in love, and I was like, what the fuck? Because this guy,
They always have to do.
They
that.
didn't do it, though. They
Hollywood's
didn't do it, though.
able.
they didn't do
It's
it
one
though.
of the biggest issues I have.
Yeah, I was like, they are not gonna do this right now, and
one of the-
thankfully they didn't.
It's one of the biggest issues I have with Hollywood action movies. Hollywood action movies are generally aimed towards a male audience, and I'm not saying that having a romance story in a movie is a bad thing, but when they're shoehorned in because it's like, bring your girlfriend along so she can watch it and be enjoy it. It's sometimes they do not fit in the movie whatsoever.
No,
They
and
feel
the whole
really
reason
forced.
the whole reason for him to do this was that his girlfriend was killed. Like, and he
So
went
that's his
crazy.
motivation.
Yeah, his motivation was his girlfriend or his soon-to-be wife, I
It would
guess.
be the equivalent of if Batman found a foster family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
Yeah,
fucking
exactly,
fit.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the character is. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And so I was like, they are not going to do this right now. Thankfully, they didn't do it. It was just a
I'm
weird
not gonna-
scene, I think.
I'm not going to lose my stepdad too.
And the scene right after it sort of makes sense with what was going on. But yeah, the whole thing, I was like, the whole reason he learned jujitsu, he learned how to be ridiculously good with weapons, he learned
Oh, yeah.
Arabic, he tracked down his own terrorist cell, like all this stuff was going on. And then he's like, oh, this looks like he might be falling in love with this woman he met 2 days ago. But thankfully they didn't do that, which I was really grateful for. So that bumped it up a notch.
Always a woman.
But at first I was
Well,
like,
I don't.
no.
It doesn't. A female in the movies don't bother me. It just always feels stupid when they shoehorn a romantic storyline into it when it doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Or it's just don't roll your eyes at me. Saul.
I am gonna roll my eyes.
Who hasn't had a relationship that went sideways and you end up fighting Iranians with a nuclear bomb? That just happened. That happens.
I've
What
wanted
would
like
you
the
do?
Bond. It's always the Bond fucking shit where it's like Bond meets some random fucking other quote unquote super
Okay,
agent and
hold
they fall
on.
in love.
That's
and
not
it's like,
falling in
we,
love.
We
That's
have to have the
on-
obligatory
Bond
love
doesn't
scene
fall
in
in love,
there, you know what I
your
mean?
information.
They do fall in love.
The women fall in love with Bond.
Yeah,
Bond
he
doesn't
he
even
falls
call
in
back.
lust. They fall
He doesn't
in
even
love.
call
Yeah,
back.
Bond doesn't love Bond
That's
a lot.
not him falling in
Exactly.
lust. That's him on a weekend with the street corner hoe. I mean,
It's not even a weekend. He just happened to be using that bathroom.
This is not a Bond-like film.
I mean, I wasn't saying it a Bond like. I'm just
Yes,
saying
I
it's
know.
the aspect where it always has. We have to have that romantic,
Yeah.
love story
There
thrown
has
in
to be
there.
some
Or
tension.
okay, I'll take the love away and put it lust.
There has to be some
story.
sort of sexual
But-
tension of some sort.
Yeah, and it's just like
that
there's
didn't
not.
exist,
It's
thankfully.
not necessary. It's not a necessary thing in there in
Yeah.
most cases.
it's
If anything, it's the
because
director's.
unless you want a bunch of random guys on the screen, the only way that these people can think to throw a woman into an action thing is if she's got some kind of craving for the main character.
She was a good
Or-
character. Like she
or
was.
I would
I
come
liked.
into
I
the
liked her
S-
character.
Or I put into the aspect of it's an easy way to put tits and ass into a movie and make men even happier.
Yeah.
This
You know what I mean? So it's like shit's blowing up, people are getting killed. Oh, look, and there's a pair of tits running across the screen. There's my fucking knife.
Speaking of
I'm
tits,
told-
the girlfriend that we know nothing about has a bikini on in her only scene, and her tits are out. It's like, come on, guys, like. But the girl who's actually in multiple scenes, who has I forget her name, the character's name. It's all the actors do a good. All the actors do a good. I don't remember anybody from this movie's name. I told you it's
Michael
very
Keaton.
good, but it's forgettable.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton's in it. I don't remember his character's name. He does a good job.
See, right up
All the actors are good. The acting is
But
good
I
in the
was
movie.
just sitting there drooling the entire time because it was the perfect guy film. It was action crazy. He's just so.
And none of the women had names except for bikini tits and other chick.
Yeah,
Hey, hold on.
but none of the men have names either.
No
First
right
chick,
to even
other chick.
remotely jump on that shit because your entire Game of Thrones cast was literally assassin, no dick. I mean, it's like
Mini assassin
That's
and
how-
no dick was Lord Fingerbang. Thank you
Lord
very
Fingerbang.
much.
No,
Lord
no,
Fingerbang.
see, you don't even remember the characters. Oh, that's
That
right,
was a low
Fingerbang
point in
was
his
good.
career, I think, when he
Yeah,
finger
so, I mean,
banged
I
his
don't wanna
sister.
I don't want to even hear any of that shit. You have no right to, because you do the same exact thing, and then you don't even bother learning the character's name.
Yeah, the characters were so
I've never
forgettable
did
in their
anyways.
names.
It doesn't matter.
But I would suggest it as a Netflix or a rental. That's my that's it. Are we playing something tonight?
We got some trailers, don't we?
Yes, we do have trailers. Let me take. We'll do the outro, and then we'll be back for trailers. So don't forget. Don't forget. So stick around, or if you're watching us on YouTube, watch the trailers as well. We'll be right back.